Welcome to the What is Love podcast, where we explore the art and science of love, energy, and partnership. I'm Country Cabin Retreats founder, Carrie, and today I'm joined by two extraordinary facilitators who embody the heart of conscious relationship, Dr. Nicole Maxwell and Daniel Macca, a couple whose 22-year marriage has been shaped by intuition, energy awareness, and deep emotional intelligence. Together, they're leading the upcoming Conscious Couples Stampede Retreat this July in Calgary, a transformational extended weekend designed for couples who are ready to deepen connection, communication, and vitality, all against the vibrant backdrop of Stampede season. Daniel is a professional certified coach, executive leadership trainer, and former therapist who brings decades of experience in emotional intelligence, energy leadership, and performance psychology. Dr. Nicole is a naturopathic physician who integrates medical science, energy awareness, and holistic wellness, helping people restore balance, vitality, and connection from the inside out. Together, they blend evidence-based tools like the Gottman Method, energy leadership, and the energy blueprint, and somatic practices to help couples understand and manage their energy, their mindset, and their bond. In today's episode, we'll explore what it really means to live in a conscious relationship, the tools they use to stay grounded and connected through their busy lives, and what couples can expect from their one-of-a-kind retreat experience this summer. So thanks so much for joining us, Daniel and Nicole. You wear a lot of hats. You're partners, parents, professionals, and now retreat leaders. Can you each share a little bit about what your relationship looks like in the midst of all of that?
You want to go?
No, you start.
Okay, I'll start. What's interesting, Carrie, when you describe all of that, we're just normal people, right? So, that all sounds amazing, and yet I don't really think of ourselves in that light. I just think of us as regular people who bring an awareness to our relationship because we're important to each other. And we wanted to be thoughtful about how we go about life and raising children and career. So how do we navigate all that? I imagine just like most people do. I wake up, I get the kiddos ready for school with Nicole's help, and off we go. And then we each have our own careers. So I'm lucky enough to work primarily from home. So I'll come back home and I'll work here. When Nicole is here, we'll find time to connect throughout the day when she's at the office. And I'll let her tell you about her day. We check in throughout the day because we like each other. If something happens, we reach out like, hey, this happened, and I want to share it with you. And then, we just like most normal folks try to figure out, what are we having for dinner tonight? It's the same old thing. So that's just all pretty normal. I think that the work or the framework or the foundational pieces have been built in place, and now we're sort of enjoying the rewards of that work. So
that's what I was going to say, is at the beginning, it was definitely more, what are our priorities? What are our family values? Kind of hashing that out, figuring out how to work together. There's a lot of foundation laid the first few years. And so like Daniel's saying, now it's just kind of smoother. We're used to this flow and everything. And then throughout the day, I think also sprinkled in there, when we have free time, we find things that we like to do together. So we're trying fly fishing and doing watercolor and just trying different things, going to swim class together.
Yeah, we exercise together when we can. We try to make time. I think we genuinely try to make time for one another. That's an important aspect. And I think, like many things in most modern lives, there's periods of more busy times, and then there's periods of we've got a little more time to ourselves. So for example, I leave tomorrow morning. I'm flying out of town to work for the next 5 days, and I'm really conscious about when I come home, I carve out time to be home for the next couple of days. I don't just jump back into an overloaded schedule. I say, no, I was just working. I was gone from my family for 5 days. Now I'm going to take a day or two or a day and a half to just be home and be with family and do those types of things.
Another thing I thought about is that we also invite each other to do things. Like if I'm interested in something, I'll say, hey, you want to do this with me? So we're constantly inviting each other to join together to do something.
Yeah. Which, if we were to put it into the Gottman framework, would really be bids for attention, right? So there would be a bid for attention to do something together.
And then the response too, like there's a willingness and almost like an agreeability of like, hey, I'm in this with you. We're gonna like reciprocatingly like go to each other's things and support each other in being together.
Right. And that's not to say like we always say yes, right? But at least like, if we think about it through the Gottman lens again of bids for attention and replies, there's at least an acknowledgement of like, oh, hey, that sounds pretty cool, but I don't know if that might not be my thing, but I'm glad you're into it, as opposed to like, oh, that's stupid. Why are you wasting your time and money, doing that? That's dumb or whatever, that would not be a very good answer to a partner who's inviting you to do something.
Plus, it's nice to be invited to things.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
That's so lovely. It really is. That's simply put. It's nice to be invited to things. And it's interesting because as you spoke there too, I'm like, it's not necessarily an unclosed bid for connection when it's the response is no. It's like, it can be loving still. It's like, wow, that's really cool. And I'm happy you're doing things. And it's not necessarily my thing. So it doesn't have to be that you're doing everything together or even saying yes to everything that the other person presents. All the while, it's so nice. That was so nicely put, Nicole. Like, it's just nice to be invited for things. I love that. Even by your partner, So how, and maybe this wasn't even conscious, and ironically, I guess it might be, how did you first get drawn to the idea of conscious partnering? Like, was that conscious to you? Was there a moment or experience that shifted how you approached your relationship?
Good question.
Yeah, good question. I think also we don't necessarily use that language at all. It's not like it's not like we frame it as like we are a conscious couple necessarily, right? Like we don't think about it in that regard. I think that I think maybe the way I've approached it is like, well, I've had relationships that didn't work and don't want to do that again. And I think when I met Nicole, I was really committed and inspired to try to be my best self, to be with her, but also had enough experience in relationships to know what I wanted and what I wanted to ask for, and I think I was committed to making this one, taking the best shot at making this one work as I could. How about you?
I think perhaps seeing relationships that weren't optimal, and then kind of we share a lot of the same values, which was really helpful. And we wanted this to work, so we brainstormed like, what are the things we need to do to make this successful? And that led to counseling, and that led to Gottman, and that led to all these other things that just kind of kept unfolding this flower, right? All the different layers.
Yeah, which is really, when I think about it, because I do through IPEC, I do really teach consciousness. IPEC coaching, their mission is to raise the consciousness of the world one person at a time. And really, what is the unfolding of consciousness? It's like you just described. It's the beginning of a journey and the beginning of greater self-awareness, which just happens a step at a time. We begin to just look more closely at things, at closely held beliefs, at perspectives, and we compare it to the results that we're getting and what we want. And that's really sort of that journey, is this unfolding of becoming more aware of who we really are, which I think is what we did in the relationship, both as a couple and as individuals.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is it isn't this it isn't the destination of being a conscious couple. It really is that evolution with, I like how you guys said it, the foundation of awareness, I guess. It's like with the context of things that didn't work, interestingly enough, right? It's the choice of making things different, having like a family meeting of sorts as to how you're going to do that, like collaborate together, and then making a plan where it sounds like it was a bit intense in the first couple of years, and now you get to kind of reap the benefits of that, where when you talked about your relationship earlier, it sounded like small things often, just that small like touch point every once in, like, you don't have to be, intensely involved in rehashing family history or whatever it is all the time. It's just that kind of continuous connection point once you had done that foundational work.
Yeah,
Not really.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And those first couple of years together were really learning about what it meant to be in a relationship with someone who you were committed to, for me anyways.
Yeah. And then I had to learn all of my historical stories that I was bringing with myself, that I was putting on him, and kind of separating truth from fiction.
Yeah.
Truth from fiction. And when you have someone who's kind of willing to work through those things together, then you can actually see it. Like if you don't have that person, you don't get to work through some of those things as much as you can in that close partnership.
Absolutely. And it's all founded, I believe, on trust and intimacy and the belief that the other person has your best interest at heart. So that when something is raised to your awareness, that it's not to be punitive, it's not to be critical, but it's to offer a choice in the way that we're being. It's an offering for consideration. It's an observation from someone who loves you and wants the best for you. And I think holding it in that framework is so important.
Remembering that we're a team, that we want the best for each other, and viewing it through that lens versus, again, these older.
Like you may see things that sting a little bit, and then there's a little bit of a conversion of, oh yes, they have my best interest. Like I forgot temporarily, or it could also be framing on their side. Like there could be a whole lot of things at play. And so the commitment, it sounds like there's like a little bit of a line in the sand where you're like, no, I'm working through this. Like I found a person who's able to do so, and now it's like we're on this journey together.
Absolutely. Yeah, without I mean, again, this is just my perspective and my opinion. Obviously, I'm not sure how one does it without commitment. Like I really don't know how one can make those sorts of changes and leaps in personal development with another person without some form of commitment, because there are times that it gets uncomfortable. Growth isn't always fun. It's not.
Say forget it.
Yeah,
walk away.
Yeah, right. Which a lot of people do, and there's no judgment in that, and no shame in that. It's just that I don't know how one makes that growth leap without some discomfort, and discomfort entails knowing that you can sit in that discomfort, say uncomfortable things, and the other person's not going to run away.
It feels like certainty, almost like it feels like it will be there regardless of what comes up, and you get to kind of rely on that, and the choosing of it carves the path also of drawing in behaviors that will allow for the commitment to support itself in a variety of ways. And I recognize it's not necessarily easy all the time. But even those hard times are being set up to almost maybe not challenge the commitment, but it's something in that direction. Is that kind of how you think of it?
Well, it tests it. Certainly it tests it.
I would say though, as we've laid the foundation of time goes on, it's safer to be in a hard place.
Oh yeah.
Like
100%.
it doesn't feel so scary to be in a hard place.
Yeah. No. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah. Early on, there was always like, oh, is she gonna bolt? It's just like gonna be
Right.
even though I mean, even though we really didn't, you know, I say that somewhat tongue in cheek. Like I didn't think that that was the case, but it was a little scarier before we had built the history together and the legacy of a family together, you know.
Well, and if the history shows that people are bolting, like, of course you're going to come at it from that perspective too. And so finding somebody that stays is
Yeah.
kind of interesting, you know, it's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
So what role, so we've talked about a little bit about the Gottman tools. We have energy leadership tools. Nicole brings a whole slew of tools to support the body, in hormonal health and a variety of other things. And so how do you integrate these tools when you're feeling disconnected?
You want to start?
I'm trying to think of like an example or something that.
Well, I mean, from an outsider's perspective of observation, you will go back to meditation. I noticed like you'll lean heavily on meditation when maybe things are a little out of sorts for you.
I mean, personally or within the couple?
Either or, that's a great notice. Like, yeah, either or works. I guess coming back to meditation for that self-grounding and then coming back to the relationship in a grounded state. I can see.
Yeah, for sure. That would, I definitely do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, as far as personally, when I think about it, an awareness of how I'm being, like, so bringing, you know, that's where I would bring in the energy leadership element. What's my perspective of the situation? What's the stories I'm telling myself? How am I showing up? How am I feeling? How am I being? And you're really checking in and seeing, is this serving me? Is this going to create the experience that I want to have in this relationship? And if the question is no, then reassessing, okay, so then what internal shifts can I make so that I can show up in a way that the experience is going to be more beneficial to myself and to Nicole in the relationship. Leaning on practices, I think, just to whatever that practice is. I know for you, meditation is a strong one that you lean on. For me, meditation comes and goes, but music is something that's pretty central to me. That's kind of like a meditative practice for me, is playing music. And in fact, I notice when I'm not regularly practicing something that fills me up, that causes me to feel a little bit not disconnected from you, but disconnected from who I want to be in some ways.
I would say for myself as well, I kind of go through a checklist from top to bottom health wise. I go, okay, are we eating okay? Is there, everyone seem to, what's our, just kind of check in, like, health wise, what could be contributing to the situation? Where can I guide that to a better outcome?
Yeah.
And it sounds like it is kind of that awareness check. It's like, how am I showing up? What have we been eating? You know, what type of exercise have we got? So it's that flip of awareness. So I guess I'll just kind of go off script here for a second, but how do you either collectively or alone create more awareness? Like, how do you notice that more frequently so that it doesn't, say, bubble up into something else?
It's a good question.
And I know meditation helps with that.
For me,
yeah,
for
exactly.
me, I'm constantly kind of, not constantly, I'm trying to, at least once a day, I go, am I aware? And I just kind of do a little check-in with the inner self, the outer self. And I think just being able to grab it and also think nothing is personal, things come and go, nothing's personal. What can I be aware of right now? What's happening? And is it real? Is it true?
Yeah.
Great question.
Great. Yeah. Similarly, but maybe a little different. It's just periods of reflection, and maybe it's even at the end of the day, if I go a whole day reflecting back and like what felt right in that day, or what felt a little off. What was my mood? How's my mood been? I try to check in with myself periodically throughout the day too. Just how's my body feeling? Am I tense? Am I stressed? Am I worried? Am I feeling calm? Am I feeling excited? Just that piece. And as a trained therapist and a trained coach, presence and awareness is something that I'm pretty well practiced in, and I do that with my clients regularly. So as I'm sitting with my client, there's my attention's on my client, but there's also an awareness of what's going on with me. How am I feeling? What am I thinking? Am I 100% present with them, or am I thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch? Obviously I try not to do that, but so there's a certain element of self-awareness that goes along with the practice. So it's almost like the practice of that practice gives me this metacognition of what's happening within myself.
Really cool. Yeah.
But it doesn't, there's times we slip, right? Like, I mean, like, man, I haven't really checked in with myself, and suddenly I realize I'm really stressed out about something.
Yeah. And I heard those moments of stillness where you're actually able to ask yourself those very thoughtful questions that you guys had there around, like, what's happening in my body? Am I aware? Am I present? I like that one too. And you need to kind of carve out those spaces in order to hear yourself a little bit too, so that whether it's within you or it's a situation that needs to be addressed within the couple or something like that. You could actually have to have that self-reflection in order to understand what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both of us have been pretty mindful of trying to create that space, both individually and collectively and familially, like that's what we want. We've never been the type of people or the type of career folks that are like wanting to fill up our entire existence being busy.
Right.
That just doesn't work for us. It doesn't work with our style,
Family values.
Our values, really. And a lot of this comes back to values, knowing your values and then living through them.
Yeah, that's very interesting because, I think folks have an opinion or perspective on what a successful life, again, successful can be deemed in a variety of ways. However, financial stability, fulfilled in career, those are some typical things that, say, our clients would look for.
Yeah.
And, it sounds like, and I'll make some lofty assumptions here, but it sounds like because of this foundation, you've been able to build with more ease. Like there, you don't have to fill all the pockets to have the, say, success, quote unquote. You can be more intentional about filling that schedule, and you do have that home base to kind of come back to with each other. Does that sound?
Well, I think within defining our values, our shared values, that helped define what success was for us. So it wasn't like this idea of success, this nebulous idea. It was more, for us, succeeding at these values and working towards these values would be successful for us.
Yeah. And again, everybody has a different definition of success, and it's, it's right for them. So like I don't hold judgment to people who have a different measure of success. If it works for them and they're getting the experience they want out of life, fantastic. But I think through our learning about our shared values and carving out a path through life, we knew we wanted to have certain experiences, and in order to have those experiences, we had to make certain choices that might have been different than what other people chose. For example, I mean, I'm thinking about when even before Julian was born, like we were really clear that we were going to be home with him. Like one of us was always going to be with Julian, at least until, I don't even know when the first time we had a sitter. It was like
late.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, a couple of years old at any rate. So we shifted our work schedules such that we would trade off. One of us would be home, always be home.
We both worked part-time.
We both worked part-time. Yeah, basically. So you know, a lot of people would think about that as like being some kind of a horrible sacrifice to make, because we were at the point in our lives where our peers were career building, that, you know, we were at the peak time where we should really be striving to climb the ladder to success. But we both said, well, no, we don't want to do that. It's more important for us to be to spend time with our children. We wanted to be home, and so we made that happen. And it was a choice. It was a conscious choice. We thought about it. Like, it didn't just happen randomly.
Even before we had the kids.
Yeah,
we're
like, this is what we're
gonna
gonna
get
do.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I use it sounds like an aggressive word, this almost like relentless commitment to the values. It's like, yeah, we see all this going on around us, and we're coming back to family, we're coming back to this value, and we're gonna consciously, at that point, it sounds like maybe even, pause the careers a little bit, right?
Really, it was like taking our foot off the gas pedal, for
Yeah.
sure. Although I was in graduate school, and I mean, I was busy. I was busy, but I did it all after the kids went to sleep. Like, you know, I would be up all night working, and
I had my own practice.
And yeah, Nicole had her own practice. So. Yeah.
So just off the cuff too, do you think you kind of naturally aligned in values, or did you have to work at aligning values? I guess that's not really how values kind of work even.
Yeah.
So
That's a
it's
great question.
yeah, how did that all
they
happen?
kind of clarified them in action, like at the beginning. Particularly, we went to different retreat events, like with Michael Mead, that helped kind of bring up ideas. And what do you think?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think that if I had to guess, I mean, looking back, I don't have to guess, but like if I think back on it, I think that there were certain values that we shared that were already established in terms of how we felt it was right to conduct ourselves with each other. So there was a certain amount of already overlapping shared values. And then when we started moving into values that maybe were things that we didn't have to necessarily consider, like how do you raise a family, because we didn't have one. I mean, we came from family, but I think maybe we had some similar values around that. But then we again at IPEC, when we talk about values, we'll talk about conscious based values versus just values that we got somewhere and we might not even know why we have them. We actually thought about it and spoke about it, and we did go to those types of retreats, and we did actually one of the workshops was the Gottman workshops that we went through, where we talked about legacy and defining values and what was important to us.
But also before we got married, by our Unitarian minister, we did couples counseling with her, and she brought up these ideas of things to think about.
Yeah.
And then in counseling in general, it was an uncovering of what are these inherent values and what are the conscious ones? What do we want to bring into the conscious area?
Yeah. And thank goodness for them. Like, you know, shout out to Lena Breen, our minister that married us. And, you know, she was phenomenal. You know, we were young. We didn't necessarily think, I don't know that we would have arrived at that place on our own necessarily. You know, it took some mentorship from somebody else who was a little further along on the path to invite us into that idea.
Yeah.
Well, and that's so cool, because I think you almost have to have a source where you actually get to reflect on, because sometimes we come to relationships and we don't know our own values, and then we're trying to force round pegs and square holes, and or the other way around, and just like I think what are my own values? How can I communicate with that with my partner? Because if I don't even know them, so drawing in exercises that actually help you take a conscious look at what those values are in your own life, so that you can articulate them to somebody else even.
Absolutely. And that's certainly going to be an element of the workshops that we do at the couples retreat, is a clarification of values. And beyond just a clarification, to what extent are we actually living through them? I mean, if we're not living through our values, that can create a lot of discontent and discord. Or if one partner is living through them and the other partner's not, or maybe one partner really embodies a certain set of values and the other person merely says like that it's important, but maybe it's not as important. So a clarification of values is an exercise that I want to walk people through.
Really great. I feel like that's a good launching point. So what when we do have this, okay, say one partner has committed to their health and that involves eating certain things and exercising. I use this example because it's pretty common, and I think you may have experienced it throughout your relationship and may not, but I know you have experience with this kind of thing either with your clients or with each other. Say one partner is committed to health, you have kind of declared it as a couple almost, and then one partner kind of deviates. Like how do you actually support them in drawing them back in, or is that even the approach? What do you think about that kind of thing?
Shame them mercilessly. How dare you break our code? No. I wouldn't do that.
If one partner is really wanting to commit to this health path, then great. And if the other partner has the intention, but then they maybe have a challenge with follow through, you're still going to love them. And that's their path to walk. It's not yours to tell them what to do or shame them or say, come on, you have to come back, or try to corral them back or anything like that. I think it's like, well, hey, you tried, I'm going to keep going. We're still together.
Yeah. I what I'm hearing in that is like a lot of lack of judgment of the other person and lack of criticism, which is important because no one's really going to come back into the fold through judgment and criticism or shame. Lovingly supporting them or trying to set them up for success. Nicole does that for me all the time. And she makes it available, but she doesn't shame me or doesn't, yeah.
Well, and when there's no judgment there.
She has a wall of supplements. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm visualizing a salad on the table. It's just like, let's use you guys for an example right now. I don't know if this is a situation, but it's like it's sitting there, and then the judgment would only, create, I feel like it would just like repel almost. So if there's no judgment, then it truly is just, well, it's there. I'm going to continue to lead by example, which is another piece of what I heard, really, which involves really checking in with your own values. Is again, it's like that recommitment paradox thing again, where you're like, oh yeah, I'm still committed, even though this person that I love and is next to me isn't right now. I want to still be committed to. So
yeah. And I will say this though too, because I know that this is a real thing in our relationship too, is being able to say to somebody, I really love you, and because I care about you, here's what I'm seeing, and this concerns me, right? Like, so if neither of us are like on some wild bender where we're calling each other back on that or something, but it'd be okay if I was really not eating well. And you probably even said at times like I'm a little concerned, you've been eating a lot of this lately and that's really not great for your heart. And and you don't say it in a judgmental or critical way, but I know that you're saying it because you care about me and you love me and you want me to be well. And so I heard somebody say something, when we love somebody, we have the responsibility of sharing our real observations with that person, and doesn't mean we're right or anything, but we care about that person. So sharing,
it's always coming back to that lens of this person is wanting the best for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've heard I think it was Dr. John Gottman in a reel. I think he was saying that it has relationships have a lot to do with like how you think about the person when you're not with them too. And I feel this sentiment, right? It's like, if you think they have it in for you when you're not around them, that's going to influence like how you are together too. So if there's this sentiment of allowing that to flow through into the periods between, which are that sentiment of, wow, they have my best interest, I hope they're doing okay today, whatever that kind of thought is, that'll help support that on the couple level when you're back together. Yeah. Like physically back together. Yeah.
Bring that back to energy leadership, right? And you know, the intention from which we're coming from. What's the energy we're putting out towards our partner? And that, you know, energy is in the form of thoughts, in the form of feelings, in the forms of action. So again, if I'm thinking that someone's out to get me, or that I'm thinking critical, negative thoughts towards somebody else, I'm coming from what we would call a lower level of energy. I'm coming from we'll define it more in the retreat, but catabolic energy. I'm putting that out towards my partner, and you know, that's not healthy for a relationship. Absolutely.
Well, really cool stuff. So I saw something by Brene Brown a while ago too, where so when you're off as you're off as a couple, you know, I think she described how they came to her and her spouse came to the table saying like, I'm a 3 today, like where are you at? Like, and then they kind of figure out how they make up the gaps and stuff like that. Do you guys have a practice like that where you do a check-in, or if you feel like the other partner's off, what's your practice of identifying what's going on?
It's kind of
If
fun
any.
Yeah, no, it's fun for you to ask us these questions, because then we actually think about it and like, well, what is it? Like, I'm sure we do these things, but we don't always necessarily know we're doing them.
Well, I think for me, if I notice, you know, something is off, then I go, how you doing today? You doing okay? That's what I do.
Mhm.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Just asking.
I mean, we do, I think we do check in on a pretty regular basis. Like, how was your day? What's going on for you? You know, that's like a really simple, just litmus test of where are you in this. So we do that on a regular. When we can get everybody together for family dinner, because everybody's a little scattered, especially at this age. But we still do apples and onions, you know, from the time the kids were little. We'll do apples and onions, which is like what part of your day was sweet, onions being like what was the part of the day that was a little bitter, more challenging, or that sort of thing. So we still check in like that. And I think if somebody is noticing, again, it goes back to the noticing. Like,
Right.
if we're noticing that the other is off in some way, we'll just ask, are you okay? What do you need? You know,
Yeah,
how can I support you, or what do you need?
Mm-hmm. Coming from that space of like, how can I help versus why are you in such a shitty mood?
Yeah, get it together, man. What's up? No, and I don't want to paint us as like angelic or something, like we're always perfect, you know. There's times like, but I think we've come to that place like where we don't take it personally, right? So it's not like, you're in a bad mood, like, oh, you know, get it together, Sally, or whatever. You know, it's like more like, oh, okay, you know, even if we're not going to be helpful, we know enough to just give space and not take it personally. Like,
right.
my energy doesn't have to influence her energy doesn't have to influence my energy. So
Right.
if
And remembering that,
yeah,
that his energy doesn't have to influence my energy. That doesn't have to affect me.
yeah.
So cool. So cool. The recognition of knowing when when you yourself need to take space, or the intuition that is evolved in your like long-standing relationship is like, oh, I think they maybe need some space right now, because I'm sure there isn't a lot of words required at some point, right? Like I'm noticing even as you interact as a couple, it's like you're laughing at similar things, you know, you become like this beautiful entity, and of course that's going to come along with like nonverbal cues and stuff like that, right?
And that's such a great point, Carrie, like to think back on it, because it has evolved. Like earlier on, we had to be much more thoughtful, I would say for me, it was when it became like I became consciously competent of how to do things. Like, so learning these skills for me originally, it was like I was consciously, or I was unconsciously incompetent. I didn't even know I didn't know them, right? And then and then eventually then I learned them, but I had to really kind of think about them and be like, oh, this is that point where I'm like, how can I support you? What do you need? Or, you know, those kinds of things. And now over the years, it's just become kind of built in a little bit more of like, either I don't have to say it, or maybe like I'll know like, oh, this is one of those times she just needs a little space to manage, or it might be a time I need to lean in and check in.
Awesome. So when we think about the retreat, you know, what do you think couples can walk away with spending some time with both of you individually? We also posted Daniel and Nicole's separate podcast to give you a bit of an understanding as to how both of them are going to independently support us. And then absolutely, we're going to have some exercises where, we're going to come together and we'll see you guys as a couple and do those things together. What do you think participants can expect to walk away with from this retreat?
Lots of stuff. They're going to learn about all these great things in their body and how to make different changes to move towards optimal health on my end.
Physically optimal health. Yeah.
Well, physically, mentally,
emotionally.
It's all one.
Right. Yeah. What I think about when I think about a situation like this is, it's an I really look at it as an opportunity. And I think back to when we would step away, quote unquote, step away from normal life. It's an opportunity to slow down, to be with one another, to take inventory of where our relationship is and where we'd like it to go. And really, quite honestly, I hope to enjoy each other, right? This is an opportunity to enjoy each other and learn about one another. So separate and aside from anything that I bring or Nicole brings, it's a real opportunity to be together and do some reflective work, to have some conversations, to have some quiet time, where you're not, having to feed the dog, run to the grocery store, so that in and of itself, I think is invaluable. And then through the time that we're going to spend together in workshops, I'm hoping that there'll be some transference of skills that will support a relationship. So the learning some of these powerful Gottman tools that will support navigating conflict, learning to communicate well such that you can express your needs and you can support your partner in receiving what they need. Weave into that for me, a profound and life-changing concept around energy leadership and becoming more aware of how am I showing up. And if energy sounds a little too woo and out there, I'll use different language. The lenses through which we view the world, the lenses through which we view our experiences. And if we can put on lenses, like if I were wearing glasses that didn't support me in seeing well, if I put on glasses, it would help me to see more clearly, allow me to see more option, have a better experience of life. If I can help people those lenses to wear more frequently, then for me, that's a real powerful gift, and that I hope that some people can walk away with. So tools to navigate, reflect,
and affect physiology to help in that arena, because the two arenas work really
very
well
closely related. Yeah, right. Mind, body, spirit. It's all interconnected.
And I think that's what's beautiful and unique about this retreat is, we are combining a lot of that deep dive into physiology too. We're going to have some wellness practices, also some yoga and fitness, and then we combine those tangible tools of awareness through excellence coaching and also the Gottman Method. So it really is that full picture of what will provide optimal health. I love this phrase that Nicole uses. Yeah.
And hopefully some fun and laughter. Like that's an important piece. Like
what you guys can show people is, yes, let's do some foundational work. Yes, let's connect regularly in whatever way that looks like, whether it's like a retreat or, 30 seconds in the middle of the day. And it doesn't, you can almost like adopt, I keep calling them habits. It feels more like it's habits and it's alignment with true self, authentic expression. It becomes easier because that's kind of who you are, is what I'm seeing a little bit of in your like deeply seated being. That's who you are. And
from the Science of Well-Being course out of Yale that I took, they would call those rewirements. So we're actually rewiring ourselves to adopt this way of being, these small things that we can integrate on a day-to-day basis, which then show that you'll have more joy. You'll have more lasting joy in your life if you rewire yourself to adopt these things. Yeah.
Rewire.
Yeah. And I
We can
also
expect
don't,
some rewiring.
yeah, expect some electrical rewiring. But I also don't want to diminish, I don't want for a moment to like diminish some of the challenges and struggles that we went through. Like it looks easier now because of the harder work that we did earlier on. You know, like when you were talking, I was like, well, it's like going to the gym, right? Like I'm gonna go work out, and it's hard, you know, and I get all sweaty, and you know, I'm like, my muscles are sore, and it can be difficult, but you feel the benefit. You know, you start to feel the benefit, and then you start to have the physique that you want or the health that you want. And I think in relationships it's the same thing. If you do the work, but the work it's not like a constant grind. It's not like it's always a grind, and you know everything is hard. It's like, no, there are hard periods. You're going to hit parts where it's really difficult and it looks ugly and it looks messy, but because you care about each other, another plug for the Gottman materials, like you do the proper repair work to come back and be like, man, that was tough. I really am sorry I messed that up. That's not what I meant to say. Let's try this again. Right. And so then you work to improve it.
And that's kind of the tools that you
that's what the tools are, right? So
at the conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of tangible tools. And it's funny because as you were talking, I'm just like, and then one day, like, how can I support you is just authentic, and, you know, it's real, and it comes out of your mouth. You know, I know you talked about the Gottman checklist too, keeping that handy on. I suspect it's not on your fridge anymore because it became part of who you are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it was for a long time, probably a solid year or two. Yeah, but I don't have it up there anymore.
Okay. But yeah, I put it up in my room. I was inspired by you guys, and it's remarkable how often you can't find the words too because of that flooding effect, right? Totally. And so yeah, when you're first learning someone, that can happen often, and you know, coming back to those tools is important.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, I honest to God had that thing taped up on the refrigerator, and used it regularly, but it also served as a visual cue. Like one of the things for me that it really did was it served as a visual cue is if I was in a flooded state or I was hot, I could walk by that and it was like, oh yeah, right. This is where I'm trying to get to. This is what I'm really trying to strive for. And it was a reminder like, okay, take that time out, come back down to homeostasis, come back to your place of calm, and you know, pick one of those phrases that's going to re-invite a conversation that's going to be more productive. So it was invaluable. I really, truly, that thing was invaluable.
Really great. Yeah, thank you. And again, I know we've talked about it before, but just the way that the energy leadership and the Gottman work pairs so well together, you know, those external resources, this is what you say, and then the internal, what's your energy level at, how are you showing up? Like, I think it's just such a cool check-in, and I'm really happy that we're pairing these two together in this retreat. So what would you say, like, for couples who say they're too busy, our relationship's not broken, you know, we don't need to do this work. What's your invitation there?
I would say it's not a need. It's just, why wouldn't you just come together and have a fun time together? And maybe there are little things that can help make it even better or deepen the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, if you're too busy to spend some time with your partner, then you probably do need to go to this retreat. Like if you can't find it, if you can't find the time to go, oh, we could get together for a couple days, and even if you didn't come to any of the workshops and you just hung out and went to the Stampede or whatever else is going on, or did yoga together, you don't have to be broken in order to do maintenance on something. So like, my cars, I don't wait till they break in order to, take care of them. I take care of them so that they'll last and they'll run better. And, I think of one of my favorite movies about rock and roll, when his base went to 11, his base amp went to 11 or whatever, like, instead of 10. Like, so why, if we can turn our relationship up beyond 10, like, so maybe it's already a 10, great. Well, what's an 11 look like or feel like, or what's the experience of going beyond not broken? How awesome could life be? How awesome could how much fun and enjoyment can you have with your partner? Yeah, I mean, but that's our perspective. So again, no judgment to anybody who says, hey, our relationship is fine, we don't need stuff like that. Okay, cool. All right, good. I'm glad of that for you. I just would think the invitation is, could it be even better? Could it be even more fulfilling, more satisfying? And could you have some more fun? Could it just be a fun weekend that you get away and play together and laugh and do learn cool stuff? Yeah, and go to the Stampede.
Exactly. Great. Yeah, that's so awesome. I'm really excited that you guys are coming up here, and I know it's gonna be so fun. And there's just, yeah, I think that doing the work doesn't have to feel like it's like connection before correction, and we can apply that to ourselves too, like having fun and connecting, and then some of that corrective behavior can naturally flow from that connective energy too. So
absolutely,
really powerful. My final question, and I do ask this on every Country Cabin Retreats podcast, and I'm curious how you might answer together. So you can answer separately or together, whichever feels better. But what is love to you as a couple? And when is the time you experience love together as a couple?
You first.
I mean, boy, okay, I can answer that in a myriad of ways. I think love is foundational to existence. I mean, and if I really want to get sort of like out there, I think love is consciousness and consciousness is love. I think that at the heart of it all is this force of love. And if I distill it more to like human essence, for me, love is seeing and being seen at my deepest level, like being seen for who I really am at my and being able to see somebody for who they really are.
Yeah, I think it's being our true selves together in harmony.
Yeah, and when have we experienced? I'm experiencing it right now. But I do remember the moment I fell in love with Nicole, like, clearly. I really remember it. We were in the hull because I didn't even have the berths in the sailboat built yet. It was in the hull. We were literally squeezed between these two little cargo boxes on the floor of this sailboat I was rebuilding. And we were sleeping in this little bay along the coast of Vashon Island where I lived at the time. And we'd been dating for a little bit, but I remember in that moment, like falling in love with her and saying to myself, this is someone I could spend the rest of my life with, because she had so many amazing qualities, but just her openness and her I don't know, it was just something in that moment. She was so game for like being up for an adventure of life. And so much so that she would sleep in this little pirate ship that I was rebuilding and that was literally falling apart as we sailed it home under like 20 knot winds.
Like even at our wedding, after there's just a sense of rightness. Everything was in its place. Like the world was in focus.
Sense of rightness.
Yeah. I would also say that our wedding, we really thought that through, put a lot of intention into it. And we, I don't know how that formed, like that ceremony and what we went through in that ceremony and what we created, for me also was another one of those foundational cementing commitment points. Like there was something really powerful and profound about that. And it all, I mean, there was so much synchronicity that happened throughout. So,
It sounds like it wasn't just a wedding. It was a very intentional, like expression of belief and commitment and love.
It
Yeah.
was, yeah. That and like an expression of who we are. Like we really poured like who we were into it. It had to be a powerful ceremony and an incredible party. That was kind of what it was.
Nice, nice, nice. Yes.
Yeah,
I guess it's like an example of how we like to do things our way.
it is. Yeah.
Mm. And I'm sure you have individual ways, and then you have the our way. Like, one question I love that Stacy asked in the Gottman training too is what does it mean to be us? And so bringing those two entities together, and yeah, that's really beautiful. And I just hear this sense of meaningful life too, like creating a meaningful life. If you want to like meaning, like this is one of the ways that you can do it in this avenue through partnering. What an inspiring conversation that we've had today. And Daniel and Dr. Nicole remind us that conscious partnership isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, curiosity, and choice. We talked a lot about choice today. So whether you're looking to reignite connection, communicate more clearly, or bring more energy and intention into your relationship, the tools they share are practical, compassionate, and deeply human. If today's episode sparked something for you, consider joining them this July in Calgary for the Conscious Couples Stampede Retreat, an extended weekend blending relationship science, energy awareness, and the joyful spirit of Stampede. We invite you to listen to the podcast with Daniel and Nicole separately to hear more about their individual workshops and experience. You'll laugh, learn, and leave the retreat with renewed energy for your partnership. Not just ideas, but embodied practices that last. So to learn more, to reserve your space, visit Country Cabin Retreats on the web or connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, I'm Carrie with the What is Love podcast. Today and every day, Country Cabin Retreats invites you to choose love.